Right now on WHAS11 News at 5, the bourbon boom isn't barreling along anymore. Brown-Forman's making layoffs, and we hear from some experts.
Businesses in Louisville and in southern Indiana raising money for the devastating California wildfires.
Plus, a new head to reduce violent crime. Meet the new member of the mayor's team leading the effort to improve public safety. WHAS 11 News at 5 starts now.
But honestly, our best-selling product is this guy right here. It's a 4-year bottled in bond, 100 proof. It's $20. That's what people want.
If you thought the bourbon industry was still on a roll, things have changed. First here at 5, the family-run bourbon maker Brown-Forman announces hundreds of local layoffs. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Proffitt.
And I'm Connie Leonard. The company is shutting down its famed cooperage where oak barrels are produced near the airport. The news impacts many families as the company is also cutting 12% of its global workforce. Now, WHAS 11's Ian Hardwitt is covering the details of what's being lost. Ian?
Yeah, over 200 jobs here locally, and we're still not sure exactly how many that's going to be total. And as the bottle and tasting room in downtown Louisville told us, tastes are changing alongside people's wallets.
The reason why we're here, right, is because of bourbon.
Bottle Shop and Tasting Room on South Preston Street is 2 blocks from Slugger Field. A tiny bottle of Woodford Reserve heads out the door.
You're seeing just people being a little bit more careful with their money.
The shop's best seller when it comes to tastings
is Brown-Forman stuff. So we feel like it is a huge draw.
But the company's sales, along with the entire bourbon industry, are lagging.
Do I, pay a bill or do I buy a bottle? And that's I think what's happening with bourbon. Some of these bigger guys need to, take a little bit less profits and actually put the fun back into bourbon.
Bourbon sales dropped the past 2 years at least 4% in the first 9 months of 2024, as reported by the Wall Street Journal. Now, the Brown-Forman cooperage near Louisville's airport is closing. By the end of April, the 210 bourbon barrel makers who work here will be laid off. Another 438 workers across the global company will lose or have lost their jobs. 648 total, 12% of Brown-Forman's workforce. Shared in a news release, the company wrote, Brown-Forman will offer severance, outplacement services, and benefits consistent with their terms of employment. So the bourbon boom is now
not busting, but slowing down. Bourbon itself, while it's still growing, is kind of tapped out in the U.S. market. And Gen Z in particular is not that big of a drinking generation, and they're the ones that are coming into more money at this time. Future projections would suggest that sales will continue to fall.
A concern shared by the Kentucky Distillers Association, which Brown-Forman is a member of. In a statement, the association wrote, "We are up against a triple threat of back-breaking tariffs, snowballing taxes, and shifts in consumer trends that have slowed sales. One break in the industry starts next year. State taxes on aging bourbon barrels will be phased out. Meanwhile, there's optimism for bourbon tourism."
Record numbers of people continue to visit Brown-Forman's facilities as well as others, and we're going to continue to support them in that regard and any other regard that we can as well.
So I feel like we're at a point in our times where everyone's got to work a little harder to make the same amount of money they did, and I'm okay with that.
Well, our thoughts are certainly with this devastating news. But Brown-Forman's more than just bourbon in this community. It's family controlled. They give a lot of money to charities. They support foundations. Goes just beyond this.
Professor Fernandez talked about that. He said because they don't work in just bourbon and they have a lot of other types of alcohol that they work in, that they should be able to recover as a company, especially with how long they've been in business, 155 years.
All right. And we don't know how many other employees here locally yet were affected besides the cooperage.
Not the total. We know it's more employees than just the people who make the bourbon barrels, just from people we've talked to on a personal level, but we don't really know the full extent of those corporate jobs being lost.
All right, Ian.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Well, we have perspective and reaction to this big move coming up for you live at 5:30. Victor Yarborough, one of the founders and the CEO of Bro Brothers Distillery on Dixie Highway, is going to be with us live to explain why this is happening to an industry that is still seeing big demand in bourbon tourism. Bro Brothers launched their distillery in 2019 and recently became one of the fastest growing brands in America. It's coming up live at 5:30. You felt that Arctic air back in the community here, Connie, and but I did see a little bit more melting today.
Yeah, there was a little melting, but I tell you what, it sure was cold this morning for kids going to school, Sam.
Yeah, and it's going to be even colder, actually, as we get you into tomorrow morning. A lot of us are going to be waking up to temperatures in the single digits on either side of 0 degrees. Now, the wind chill, luckily, will not be too affected tomorrow morning, but that wind chill today staying a little colder. Though with the actual temperature showing 32 right now at Ali International, it does feel like we're at 21. We can thank that northwest breeze. A couple of wind gusts today are near 25 to 30 miles an hour, so we do have a pretty breezy air mass overhead, and it really looking pretty cold nonetheless. 25 in Bedford for the current temperature, Jasper at 27, and right now in Louisville, temperatures along and south the Ohio River looking to be popping just above the freezing mark. We're actually at 33 in Shelbyville. So take a look to the north. We can thank that wind. Take a look at that temperature difference. Upwards of 10 to 15 degrees different right now. Feels like we're at 13 in Seymour, 17 in Madison, 21 in Louisville, and hanging on to a couple of mid-30s just to the south as well. So all in all tonight, we're going to be seeing a big plummet in temperatures, falling down to about 8 degrees in metro Louisville. We may see a couple of isolated spots dip below 0 degrees as once again in rural portions of Kentucky, and that's just some of the colder temperatures will be tonight. Now in a few minutes, don't go anywhere. I'm previewing some snow flurries in our forecast for Thursday after a relatively sunshine-filled but cold day tomorrow, and 40-degree temperatures in the afternoon are on tap for us Friday into Saturday. I'm also talking about some rainfall into Saturday as well. The full forecast coming up.
Thank you so much, Sam. Now more on the raging wildfires out in Southern California. Fierce winds and dry conditions are making the next 24 hours extremely dangerous in the area. Officials say the Eaton fire has not grown over the last 2 days, sitting at 35% containment, but a new brush fire did erupt overnight. This one in Ventura County, about 5 miles outside of Los Angeles. Fire crews are working to slow progress of the flames, which they say began from high winds.
You're carefully managing our operations to ensure that we can quickly respond to any new fires, in addition to the increased call volume across the city of Los Angeles.
A massive, massive destruction is unimaginable until you actually see it.
At this time, crews have contained 17% of the Palisades fire, which has burned more than 23,000 acres. 88,000 people remain under mandatory evacuation orders. At least 24 people have died, with more than 30 unaccounted for. And so far, more than 100,000 residents have already had to evacuate.
It's a massive process, and businesses here in Kentucky and Indiana are now trying to help. WHAS11's Alexandra Goldberg and senior photojournalist Alyssa Newton have their story.
These people left with nothing. They left with, maybe just the shirt off their back, maybe a backpack.
Dress and Dwell in downtown New Albany has long-standing ties to the clothing vendors in Los Angeles. As the city battles historic wildfires, Anna Mulveen is trying to help from afar.
We've gotten to know so many of our vendors and their family and their children, and it's just so heartbreaking to see what's happened to their community. It's like if it hasn't touched them, it's definitely touched people that they know.
Mulveen organized a GoFundMe this weekend, already raising nearly $1,000. The proceeds will go towards buying new wholesale clothing for displaced Angelinos, and was organized alongside the vendors she's worked with for a decade.
They are just, mind blown that people from all over the country are willing to dive in and help out their community.
Both here in southern Indiana and across the river in Louisville, businesses are finding a way to give.
I'm a big animal fan, as most of us are.
At downtown Louisville's Parlor Pizza, customer Craig Edford says he's pleased that 25% of his check is going towards the Pasadena Humane Society, a shelter helping displaced pets.
It's a big story. It's everywhere right now. So yeah, I'm glad to see us doing something, as far as we can here.
Striking a chord, his sister-in-law works at the Los Angeles Equestrian Park, taking in animals and finding them refuge from the fires.
She's out there kicking butt and taking in animals and doing her thing.
Kentuckiana, states away but stronger together, hoping to help Los Angeles rebuild. Alexandra Goldberg, WHAS 11 on your side.
Always so generous around here. Well, Parlor Pizza is holding their fundraiser until closing tonight. That's going to be at 10 o'clock across 7 locations. To donate to Dress and Dwell's GoFundMe page, we have a link for you at WHAS11.com.
Some more local news to tell you about now. Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg is responding to concerns about some roads not being salted or plowed following last week's snowfall, many of them being side streets. Well, this morning, the mayor addressed those concerns and said work is being done to address any road that poses a danger to public safety. He acknowledged frustration from some throughout the city whose neighborhoods may still be dangerous for travel.
We understand very clearly that for everyone in the city, the roads that you travel on are the roads that are the most important. We get that. Given the resources that we had and the traditional history of snowfall and icefall in this region, we're dealing with the resources that we had.
Now, Mayor Greenberg mentioned his team is also working to expand the Metro's snow routes beyond the 110 currently in place.
Also happening today, according to the Louisville Metro Police Department, Louisville saw 142 homicides in 2024. Now there's a new person in the mayor's administration to tell you about to help try to make that number go down. This morning, Mayor Craig Greenberg introduced Misty Wright as his new executive director for community safety. Wright's a Louisville native who spent time in northern Illinois as an assistant U.S. attorney. There, her work included prosecuting gangs, cartels, and narcotics. In her brand new role in Louisville, Wright will work directly with Metro Police as well as state and federal agencies to reduce the number of violent crimes in Louisville and to improve public safety.
I'm hopeful that in working with the mayor and working with LMPD and other partners, agencies, and organizations, we can make some progress on those goals. And I hope to give the residents of Louisville what we deserve. A safe place to work, a safe place to raise our children, and a safe place to call home.
Wright has received recognition for her previous work, including the Medal of Valor from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. She went to Yale University for her undergrad and received her law degree from Harvard.